Senate is about Nigeria and Nigerians.
It's good to have you join us on yet another episode of Inside the Senate, a program which brings you activities from the Senate wing of the National Assembly. I am your anchor, Hadiza Bayero Aliu. In view of the ongoing Senate's annual recess, we began a review series last week, highlighting some key moments and activities carried out before the upper legislative chamber went on break. We shall continue with that review, and this week we shall look at motions focusing on those that address challenges from insecurity and natural disasters experienced in different parts of the country. However, we shall bring you a report on a public hearing organized by the Senate Committee on Public Accounts on the annual report of the Auditor General for the Federation for the year 2019. These and more coming your way shortly. Please stay tuned.
Promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria.
The Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria Act, Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2023.
And this act should be supported by all.
There are issues that we must use this opportunity to critically address.
We accord this motion the urgency and the necessity it requires.
I rise to second the motion.
The ayes have it.
The Senate has criticized the management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL), the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FYRS), the Nigeria Police Force, and 12 others for their continued failure to address questions raised in the 2019 audit report. Chairman of the Public Account Committee, Senator Ali Wadada, made this known to journalists on Tuesday, 13th August 2024, during a hearing organized by the Senate Committee on Public Accounts on the annual report of the Auditor General for the Federation for the year 2019. Senator Wadada said the agencies failed to appear before the committee to make clarifications despite several attempts to compel them to do so. The committee chairman expressed displeasure with the attitudes of the agencies despite several invitations.
The committee is very displeased with the attitude of foot dragging by agencies who are by law expected to respond to parliamentary invitations and account for their actions.
He further stressed that if the agencies persist, the committee would conclude that they are guilty of the infractions observed in the audit report.
It is on this note that we as a committee have resolved that going forward, the Senate Public Accounts Committee will go ahead to consider their audit queries as contained in the Auditor General's annual report, and any MDA that henceforth fails to honor invitations to respond and present its defense, the committee will adopt the position of the auditor. Also, this resolution will be added to our rules of engagement if MDAs fail to improve on their attendance to invitations.
Among the affected agencies are Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited (NNPCL), Federal Inland Revenue Service (FRS), Nigeria Police Force, and Nigeria Immigration Service. Others are Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Nigeria Mining Cadastral Office, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, FCT Internal Revenue, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, Ministry of Defense, Nigeria Communications Satellite Limited, among others. In continuation of the hearing, the next day, Wednesday, 14th August 2024, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security made its appearance before the committee. It was represented by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Temitokwe Peter Fashedemi.
The Permanent Secretary is requested to 1. Furnish reason why 1% stamp duty on contract agreement was not deducted from the payment to contractors. 2. Recover the 1% stamp duty on contract awarded in the sum of 89,100,573 naira 53 kobo and remit same to the relevant tax authority.
At the time, those were the early days when most of the accounting staff were just getting used to the GIFMI system, which had then been introduced. And apparently, the officers who were handling at the time had issues identifying the appropriate, because the way the GIFMI system works now, immediately you want to pay any contractor, all the accounting details, because it's already linked to FIRS and all of that. As at that time, all those databases had not been seamlessly, connected. We have written to all the affected contractors, and we are committed, and evidence of that has been forwarded to the Office of the Auditor General, and we are committed to ensuring that each and every one of them we get these monies back and remit accordingly to government coffers.
Can you supply this committee with any evidence that even at that material time, that 1% was paid back to contractors?
Management's response: letters are being written to all affected companies requesting refund of 1% stamp duties, which was inadvertently not deducted. When were these letters written, and is there any response from any of these companies?
I was barely a permanent secretary even at this date. I think I became permanent secretary in December 2019. And I'm sure even my predecessor that I took over from January this year was also not in this ministry as at that time. However, as we always say, government is a continuum. And when they say government is a continuum, actually the public service is that continuum. And so we do not, we can state the facts as they are, but we do not make excuses. When we get this type of query from you, we go back into the records and dig. We dig and we check, and as much as possible that the records are available, we will come back to you. We will not try to, make it malleable and say what is not there.
After responding to the queries, some of them were vacated, while the ministry was instructed by the committee to reconcile with the Auditor General's office on any other areas with discrepancies. Same day, representatives of the Central Bank of Nigeria, led by the Director of Development Finance Department, Saad Hamid, also appeared before the committee, but the committee resolved not to entertain them as it expected higher principal officers of the CBN to be present.
The director will even assign an assistant director to come and represent him here, not even the deputy governor. So I don't think we should waste any further time seeing them or attending to them. They should excuse us, and their bosses should come and attend to us whenever they are ready. I will give them a time to.
In closing, the committee chairman had this to say.
And with the all on status inquiry on these queries of Auditor General, there are so many issues that have got to do with Central Bank of Nigeria. And I think the extended understanding is gotten to its last bus stop. The next date we fix, the governor of Central Bank is not here, we shall issue warrant of arrest on him.
That's an update from the Senate wing of the National Assembly. Before we continue with our review, let's take a break to open our Senate notebook. Don't go away.
Enactment is the process by which a proposed bill is formally approved and becomes a law. This involves several stages, including drafting, debating, and voting within the legislature. Once a bill passes through legislative procedures, including committee reviews and voted in both houses if applicable, it is signed by the executive, officially making it a law.
Welcome back. As I mentioned earlier, we shall continue with our review series, and our focus in this episode will be on motion that sought to address challenges arising from natural disasters and insecurity experienced in different parts of the country. The period under review being from May to July 2024. Let's get the details as compiled and presented from our studio. Keep watching.
On Wednesday, 22nd of May 2024, rising on Orders 41 and 51 on the matters of urgent public importance, Senator Issa Jibrin, representing Kogi East Senatorial District, drew the attention of the Senate to the urgent need for rehabilitation of Agojeju Odo, Ajokpachi Odo, Bagaji and Bagana communities in Omala local government area of Kogi State affected by gunmen attacks and killings. He sought and obtained the leave of the Senate to present the matter forthwith.
5th April 2024, armed heads
headers invaded the Agoji Jodo, Ajopachi Odo, Bagaji and Bagana communities, killing 21 innocent citizens, including women and children.
Prayers for the motion were to observe a minute's silence for the departed souls in Omala local government area of Kogi State and all other parts of the state affected by the crisis. Urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development and the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA) to assist the affected communities in Omala local government area of Kogi State and all other parts of the state also affected with relief materials and other forms of support necessary for their rehabilitation, and urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development and the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA) to provide minimal seed capitals for the women and youth in the community to facilitate their various economic activities. Additional prayer was for the Senate to constitute another committee to work out modalities to find a holistic solution to the problem of farmers and herders clashes and killings all over the country, including convening a national summit involving academic, research institutions and all stakeholders, including farmers, herders, community leaders, traditional rulers, with a view to finding the remote causes and sustainable solutions to the crisis across the nation. The motion was voted on and adopted, and a 7-man ad hoc committee on modalities to find a holistic solution to the problem of farmers and herders clashes and killings all over the country was constituted.
The motion I have
on
is
Thursday,
to address
6th of June 2024, Senator Musa Muhammad Sani, representing Niger East, moved a motion on the urgent need to address the incident of the landslide that buried alive over 30 informal miners in a gold mining site in Galadiman-Kogo Ward, Shiroro Local Government, Niger State. Senator Sani Musa noted that the incident occurred on Monday, 3rd June 2024 at an open-pit gold mine in Kogo Ward of Shiroro Local Government, located within the Niger East Senatorial District of Niger State.
they have used dynamites in blasting the rocks and creating a huge and deep holes within these rocks. And when these miners were down the rock walking, there was a rock slide where these rocks all collapsed and buried them inside alive.
Prayers for the motion were to commend the Minister of Solid Mineral for his swift and proactive response in monitoring the situation at the mining site, urge the federal government to come out with strict regulation on mining activities in Nigeria in line with international best practices that will ensure safety of mining operations and deploy adequate security apparatus to the mining communities in order to maintain vigilance around mining areas to prevent further incursions and intrusion by informal miners. Also urged the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA) and other relevant agencies of government to expedite actions on the recovery of the remains of the deceased in the catastrophe to ensure that the bereaved families can have final closure, and directs the Committee on Solid Mineral to conduct an on-the-spot assessment of the site to ascertain the remote and immediate cause of the landslide. The prayers were approved and adopted. The Senate also observed a minute's silence in honor of the victims.
Amen. Mr. President, the motion is on the suicide attack in Goza.
On Wednesday, 3rd July 2024, Senator Alin Dume from Borno South, also rising on orders 41 and 51, drew the attention of the Senate to suicide attacks in Goza, Borno State on 29 June 2024 by brazen suicide bombers who targeted wedding ceremonies, funerals and hospitals in sporadic and coordinated attacks. These, he said, resulted in the unfortunate deaths of about 32 innocent Nigerians, leaving scores of other victims wounded with varied degrees of injuries.
Further notes that these attacks have raised significant concern about the security situation in the region, which has been flashpoint of terrorist attacks over the years, and this calls for concerted and coordinated efforts of the security agencies to address the state of insecurity in Borno State and other parts of the country experiencing similar situations.
Prayers for the motion include to urge the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to intensify efforts by providing relief materials for the victims of the attacks. Also urge the federal government to direct the security agencies to deploy modern technology in the fight against insurgency and to make concerted efforts in securing the hotspots inhabited by the insurgents, namely the Lake Chad region, Sambisa Forest and Mandara Mountains, respectively, and further urge the federal government to seek collaboration with private security contractors in the area of hotspots of Sambisa, Mandara Mountains and Chad region. The motion was voted on and adopted, after which a minute's silence was observed in honor of the victims.
Rest in perfect peace.
The Senate.
Still on motions on disasters, Senator Mustapha Habib, representing Jigawa Southwest, on Wednesday, 17 July 2024, moved a motion titled Urgent Needs to Provide Palliative Support to Laya Town, Waram Local Government Area of Jigawa State. According to the lawmaker, the people of Laya and Fagam communities of Waram Local Government Area of Jigawa State experienced a devastating windstorm on Thursday, May 16, 2024.
Further notes that the windstorm, accompanied by heavy rainfall, caused widespread destruction of lives, injuries, houses, farmlands, and schools in the community.
Prayers for the motion were to direct the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, to send relief materials, especially building materials, to enable the people of Laya Town rebuild their homes and alleviate their pain in view of the impending rainy season, and mandates the Senate Committees on Environment and Compliance to ensure compliance and report back within 4 weeks. The motion was voted on, adopted, even as the Senate President Godswill Akpabio commented on the matter.
We sympathize with them. Our hearts are with them, particularly those who probably lost their loved ones and lost their habitats, lost their farmlands and all that. The Senate must protect the people of Laya Town and all Nigerians. That's what we are here for.
You are still watching Inside the Senate, bringing you activities of senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as they carry out their legislative business in the Red Chamber of the National Assembly. Senator Anthony Okorie-Ani is the current senator representing Ebonyi South Senatorial District under the platform of the All Progressive Congress APC and the Vice Chairman Senate Committee on Tourism, which is a newly created committee. Recently, our crew caught up with him for a chat, and in that interaction, the lawmaker spoke on the mandate of the Senate Committee on Tourism.
The Committee on Tourism is meant to legislate on matters that touch on tourist industries in this country. Of course, how to boost it, because a sure way of boosting the economy, if the tourist centers, organizations are allowed to their responsibilities, the economy of this nation definitely will be boosted.
The challenge of insecurity in the country is one that has affected various sectors of the economy, and the tourism sector is not an exception. According to Senator Ani, the 10th Senate has made the fight against insecurity one of its primary objectives.
No sector functions properly when the security is not there. So it has been at the uppermost mind of legislators, of course the Senate, that the security of this country should be secured. All their efforts, all their legislations, in so many ways, have been how to bring security to what it should be, so that people will be free to go about their normal businesses, do their activities without fear of loss or things like that.
Senator Ani further called on security agencies to live up to the task of securing the nation.
We call on them to be alive to their responsibilities, to sit up and secure our nation. We will all be happy and we will all be better for it.
In closing, Senator Ani calls for more patience for the current administration from Nigerians.
Success takes a gradual dimension. If you must succeed in anything, it must have to go gradually, consistently, for success to be achieved. My advice to my constituents and the rest of the country at large is that everybody here is doing his best. Nobody in the 10th Senate is here to sabotage this country. Everybody's view is to do those things that will make our country better. So they should be patient with us and pray for us.
That was Senator Antonio Korie Ani, Senator representing Ebonyi South Senatorial District and Vice Chairman, Senate Committee on Tourism. Up next is our profile segment. Stand by for our Senator of the Week.
Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar is the current senator representing Kwara North Senatorial District in the 10th Senate. He was born on the 8th of June 1970 in Kaima local government area of Kwara State. He had his secondary education at Borgu Secondary School, New Busa, Niger State, where he obtained his West African School Certificate in 1987. Between 1987 and 1997, he obtained a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree, a postgraduate diploma in public administration, and a master's degree in disaster risk management and development studies, all from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Kaduna State. Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar worked for many years in the health development sector of DFID and USAID SCM projects, where he spent about 2 decades managing projects that focus on helping the poor and vulnerable, especially women and children. He started as an officer and rose to become Technical Director West Africa Axios International, a USA-based organization, before joining politics. Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar is a public health pharmacist, consultant, development expert, community mobilizer, philanthropist, and public affairs analyst. He is a fellow of several professional bodies such as Fellow Nigerian Academy of Pharmacy, Fellow African Center for Supply Chain, Fellow Society of Professional Disaster Risk Managers, Fellow Association of Nigeria Public Administrators, and so on. Also, he is popularly known as 3SU in Kwara State, which stands for Senator Sadiq Suleiman Umar. Senator Suleiman Sadiq Umar began his political career in 1999 when he contested and won a seat in the Kwara State House of Assembly representing Edu Moro constituency. He served in the State Assembly for 2 terms before he was elected to the Senate in 2019. He currently represents Kwara North Senatorial District in the 10th Senate under the platform of the All Progressives Congress (APC). As a senator, Senator Suleiman Sadiq Umar has served in various committees of the Senate, including the Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development. His legislative focus is on education, health, road infrastructure, water resources, power, human capital development, empowerment, and youth advancement.
With that, we come to the end of this week's edition of Inside the Senate. Join us next week for another edition. And don't forget to send your questions and opinions via any of our feedback channels showing on your screen. See you next time, and thanks for watching.